Hey everybody, what's going on? Andrew from Pew Brothers. This episode sets out to pick up kind of where the last video left off, and this series is all about saving money, saving cash as it pertains to firearms. This particular video is going to address first-time handgun buyers. Now, a lot of these elements transition over to long guns, but today specifically we're going to be focused on the purchasing of handguns. Now, to start that out, I'm going to give you a little bit of a story about my first handgun purchase and the lessons I've learned along the way. So 10 years ago, I purchased a Springfield 1911 Champion 4-inch barrel seen here. All right. Now, this is chambered in 45 and it is single stack. If you fast forward 10 years later, I am not a true 45 fan. In fact, this is the only 45 I still own, and I'm very much against single stacks, hence why I think the only single stack I have left is a Kel-Tec. But anyway, I digress. So when I purchased this handgun, I knew nothing about handgun fit or function or purpose or any of those things. I just knew that I wanted to purchase a handgun because I wanted to purchase a handgun. So it really didn't matter what caliber it was. I did consider the fit some, but at that time, the most important factor was cost. So in today's video, we're going to address the three primary functions I think you need to consider to put into your plan before purchasing a handgun. And again, like I said in the ammo video, be methodical about this. Don't make an impulse buy of something you just hate later. So the first thing we're going to address is fit. Now, fit starts out in its most organic form. Does the handgun feel good in your hand? Do you have good purchase on the weapon? Are you worried about your pinky hanging off the end? Is it a match made in heaven? Okay, maybe not. Does the handgun feel good? Does it feel right? I'll give you an example of this, and it wasn't my first handgun at all, but when the when the Smith & Wesson Shield 9s came out, or they had a huge rebate on them, tons of people went out and purchased those. So Doc goes out and buys one, and it just sits for years. In fact, he never shot it until we started making videos with Pew Brothers. I picked the gun up my first time holding the Shield. It was absolutely god-awful. So you gain a reasonable amount of appreciation for what firearm you want just by that feel. But it doesn't stop there. I can't say that I can go into a gun store and pick up a gun and just by grabbing it, I like this, or I don't. To be honest, the TX22, the kind of ergonomic grip I get from it, I'd shied away from Walthers for similar features, but I really like the TX22 by Taurus. It's far different from any other grip-sewn handguns that I have, but I'm a fan, so it's kind of opened up another avenue. So let's move on to the second thing. I cannot encourage you enough to try to get your hands on whatever firearm, whatever handgun you're looking to go purchase. See if a friend has that handgun or something similar to it. But a lot of gun shops that are paired or partnered on the same side, or maybe they have a kind of like a working relationship with another range, they have try before you buys or shoot before you buy type deals. It is usually going to cost you some cash to go in and fire these weapons, and it only gives you a very, very small sample size, but it certainly gives you more of a detailed account for how the firearm feels with recoil, how it feels going on target as far as sight acquisition. It gives you what you're going to be doing with the gun, shooting it, more than what you're going to get from grabbing a firearm across the counter. Take time to make the right research efforts when going and doing this investment. A lot of people buying handguns, this may be the only firearm they own, so it certainly needs to be the right fit. Now, the next element or the next item is shared very much with function, and that's the actual size of the firearm. Sure, it fits in your hand. I mean, I have a wide variety of as far as sizes. We go down to my pocket pistols in .380 all the way up to full-size Glocks and XDs. So the range of what my hand can comfortably fire is pretty broad. But the function that those firearms fill is different. So this is where we have the first bridge at. What is the function of that firearm? That determines a lot about the fit. If it's going to be for concealed carry, do you really want to be 150 pounds at 5'6" trying to conceal a Glock 17 long slide? I don't think so. And if that function is to have a home defense handgun, I don't think you're looking to go for a LCP. This function and fit has a necessary marriage for what you're trying to accomplish. If you're looking for something for concealed carry, you don't have to have a pocket pistol, but I don't necessarily recommend a 50 Desert Eagle either. Find that happy medium to a place where you feel like you can conceal the firearm and it accomplishes the task. Now, inside of function, we see a lot of controversy when it comes to caliber. I'm not going to dive down the rabbit hole of 9mm versus 45. There are countless memes on the internet that have done that for us. I like 45 because I only have to shoot once. I shoot 45 because whatever. I'm not even getting into the conversation. But what I will go down is this sensical approach to say, if I'm using it for home defense, I probably want, especially if I'm using a handgun for home defense, I probably want to go for a more viable caliber than like a 22 LR or a 380. Now, I understand that there is a strong movement for those who support 22 LR and other 22 variants for home and self-defense. Go for it, but I'm just saying, determine what function that handgun is to play and what you want to do with it and go from there. If this is your first handgun and it is sheerly going to be recreational, there is no defensive properties about it, you have some other weapon inside of your home that you use for this, you don't anticipate on carrying concealed, then a 22 handgun might be sufficient enough for you. I have started plinking more now than ever, and I find 22 handguns to be just an absolute ball to go out and shoot recreationally. So, in short, we need to determine whether this is going to be for home defense, concealed carry, recreation, or even like a collector gun. Like if this is just something you may shoot every once in a while, but you don't plan on having a huge round count on it. Consider those things. The last thing we're going to get to here, and I would argue that this may be the first pillar that people reach, and it's cost. Regardless of what size a firearm is, regardless of what function it plays, if we can't afford to purchase that firearm, it doesn't matter about any of those things. If I want a staccato for concealed carry, and I want the 9mm so I can get the staccato XL with 20 rounds of 9mm because I want that extra capacity and I want that reputation and I want all those things. It's great to want. It's something totally different to be able to pony up and pay that $3,000 price tag. So, though I think they're all equally important, the access and availability of funds to purchase these obviously trumps the others because without cash, there's no pew or pew. Anyway, you get what I'm saying. But what I'm going to talk about, I'm not going to belittle the point of if you don't have the funds, then you can't purchase the firearm. That's an obvious. That's a given, right? The things that I do want to talk about is the things that come along with a firearm. Ammo. If you're using a handgun for defensive posturing, one box of ammo is not enough. Ammo is as much of an associated cost of owning a firearm as the firearm is itself. If you can't feed a firearm, it's no good. It's a paperweight. You just assume go out and pick up stones. They'd be far cheaper to throw. Make sure when you allocate those funds to that firearm, you can maintain that firearm, you can supply that firearm, and just do everything that's required to keep that firearm whole. You need to be buying cleaning supplies. You need to be, keeping your gun maintained and oiled and make sure you're keeping it in an atmosphere that's conducive to how the gun should be stored. Which leads me to retention. Do you have kids at home? How are you keeping this firearm safe? How are you keeping this out of kids' hands? But how are you also keeping this firearm at the ready? Are you using a conventional safe? Are you using some type of chamber locking device? Are you using one of these RFID lock boxes by the nightstand? Whatever you're using, make sure that you factor this into the cost. How will I secure this firearm from here evermore after it leaves this gun store? I think that the storage of firearms and my next point, training on firearms, are the most overlooked items that people never consider paying for. It's great that 2020 has been a bolstering year for firearm sales, for ammunition sales, for all this 2A stuff. It's great. But I think the scariest thing is we see people buying firearms and buying ammo. Training, not so much. On our Facebook page, our Instagram page, we put up a post and it was like, hey, if you're giving $1,000 that you can't use on firearms and you can't use on ammo, what are you using on? We may have had about 5% mention training. I don't care if you've been around firearms your entire life, your dad hunted, your granddad hunted, you do 3-gun, whatever. You still need training. You still need to make sure you're on top of your skills. You need to be assessed and evaluated to ensure you're doing things safely, to ensure your technique is smooth. I'm not going to get here and chastise you all because you're not running circuits and you're not competing. But just know, you first-time handgun owners, you first-time firearm owners, you owe it to yourself, and reasonably so to society, to be capable, efficient, trained, knowing not only the laws, but how to operate your firearm. When you go out into society, when you go out into public, if you're deciding to conceal or open carry or whatever your state laws are, those people around you, those people that are not the threats, their lives also hang in the balance. So ensuring that the day is not the first day you've picked up your handgun and you've never fired it before, you just picked it up out of the box, loaded a magazine up, slid one in the chamber, and put it in a holster, it's not cool. I'm a huge proponent of firing firearms before they ever go into a defensive situation, before they go in any type of situation. Every firearm I own goes through a proven phase. Because things break. I don't care how good your manufacturer is, Glock, Sig, HK, whoever. Stuff breaks. Humans put these things together. Human error is an element, regardless of the price tag. Pick a gun, put a dollar sign on it. At one time or another, it's failed. It's reality. I'm not saying it's a bad firearm. I'm saying it needs to be corrected and then tested again and then put into rotation. I test every piece of defensive equipment I have on me. I got a new holster from ProTac. Great holster. Love it far more than my other one. It was great right out of the box. It didn't make it straight to my EDC rotation. I've had the thing for a month, and after drills and different situations have came up that I've, practiced with, now it's in my rotation, but it didn't make it there off the bat. The last thing I want to talk about as it pertains to cost is the aftermarket. This isn't so much on safety. This isn't so much on saving money. This isn't so much on me just trying to blur it out and tell you what to do with your firearms. This is me trying to save you some anxiety. I often see people who go out and buy firearms, and as soon as they buy these firearms, they look to begin the modifications near instantaneously. Now, if you're a Glock person, that's absolutely fine. You have an absolutely endless aftermarket supply, whether it's triggers, sights, barrels, slides, whatever you want, it's out there. I mean, you can throw a bayonet on there, whatever. But if you decide to go with a less supported, a less popular firearm, but you decide that you now want it milled and putting optics on here, and you want all these other things that the bigger manufacturers have or the more popular models have, it's not going to happen. You spend more money trying to, I'm not going to be politically correct. Guys, stop trying to polish turds. You're trying to polish turds. Don't take a $200 firearm and try to trick it out with a $300 optic and have somebody go machine you a barrel. You'd save a lot more money with a more competent, a more reliable platform. And I'm not going to call any names about the firearm manufacturers that people typically flock to try to polish turds. Guys, thank you for watching this episode of Pew Brothers. I want to give a huge shout out to our sponsors, Tech X and Money Quick Pawn and Gun. They've been absolutely phenomenal supporters of the channel and the platform. We've got some products we have to review from both of those guys. We'll get them to you here soon. We're just kind of getting ramped up again to start pushing out these videos and pray that we can beat the algorithms. Until next time, guys, think responsibly.